The world seemed to collapse around Mika and Scott. She felt flames rising up on her cheeks, setting her scalp on fire. She felt needles pushing out of every pore and acid filling up her mouth. Her breath was hot and acrid, and her eyes felt as though they were bulging out of her sockets. Then the tunnel vision collapsed. Scott seemed to be hurtling towards her with the sickening grin smeared across his face. Her body snapped like a spring coiled too tight. She didn't think about it. It was complete reflex. Her body pulled into itself and she pivoted and then exploded. Her legs sprang out and she felt the heel of her foot crash into the heavy oak door in front of her. There was the sound of air leaving the man's lungs and the crash of his body hitting the floor behind him while the door crashed into the inside wall. Mika centered herself. She looked down at the man lying on the floor. He was disoriented, but conscious and regaining his composure quickly. She sensed some other movement around her, but pushed it away. She focused on the man like a laser on a sniper's rifle and stepped over the threshold into the house. The man was on his knees now, leaning against the wall, trying to get his eyes to focus. Mika took a quick step forward and threw her fist into his nose. The cartilage inside his face broke easily under the pressure of her closed hand. His skull, however, was sturdy and hard, and she felt the thin bone in her middle finger crack. She winced and turned momentarily to close the front door. When she turned back, the man was on his feet, blood pouring down his face and covering his mouth and chin. He was wobbly on his feet, but his eyes were on fire and his lips were smeared with a ghoulish smile. He laughed, and as he did, the blood ran from his open mouth and dripped onto his shirt and shoes. "You're a spunky one," he said. Mika's face contorted into a warlike jack-o'-lantern that made the man's smarmy smile diminish ever so slightly. She took a step forward, and he countered, stepping back. She threw a punch, but he flinched, and she missed her target. She threw another, and he caught it with his left hand. The man laughed with his whole body. "You know, I teach girls like you. I teach them this. Self-defense, down at the gym. You're not bad. Not bad at all, but defense is very different from assault." Mika growled and rushed at him, bringing her knee up to meet his groin. He stopped it easily and slipped his arm under her knee, bringing it up to his chest. Mika felt herself leave the floor and wiggled violently to break the man's grip, but it was no use. For a moment, she thought, why didn't I just take the gun? "I bet you're a black belt," he said, with what sounded like genuine admiration. "First degree, right?" "I'm a third degree myself. Been doing it since I was 6 years old." "You really are good. And very pretty." Mika shrieked and screamed. She shook and fought and swung her head at him in spastic jabs. "You're going to be really fun to..." The door frame shattered into splinters and the door flew right off its hinges. In the square box of darkness stood a towering creature roaring with anger. The man dropped Mika and she fell flat on the floor, slamming her head on the tile. The beast stormed into the room and breathed fire from his eyes. The man screamed, took one step, and fell to the floor in a heap. Mika screamed, staring up at the gargantuan monster, and then mercifully, the world went black.
Vispira, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I can go.
All right.
You're a very vivid writer. I always admire your details, the things that you put into your writing. And you always give your characters like a strong sense of themselves. Even if you're not sure of it yourself. I have a little gremlin thing, so if you hear anything, just ignore it. It's meant for my Twitch channel. But I always enjoy listening to whatever you write. And I think you knocked it out of the ballpark. Finished.
Okay. See, I'm going to disagree, Neil. Not with Vispira. I'm going to disagree with something that you said earlier. I think that you give a good example of how to write a fight scene with the technical jargon because you understand beats. The problem that I talk about oftentimes is that people, when they write fight scenes who use technical jargon, they also don't understand the beat or the rhythm of a battle, because a battle is necessarily a dance, right? A fight scene is part of a dance. You have moments of movement, and you have moments of pause, and you have moments of breath, and you have moments of release. And I mean, once again, Vespera is correct. I liked a lot of the thing. If I had the document in front of my face, I'd be able to highlight all of the little detailed little things. But I also like the use of metaphoric language on top of things. Instead of describing what is, you describe what it's like versus what it is, often, and that's what I appreciate. Personally, I think that this fight scene is, like I said, a great example of how to write fight scenes with the technical jargon. The whole entire, and when I say technical jargon, I simply just mean the specification of like left and right hand and everything like that. Because, but normally, what I further meant with what I was saying about technical jargon is like, I take my right leg to, sweep him under his feet, and you're like, not everybody knows that's a sweep. Not everybody's trained in that way. I mean, street fighting is still a thing. You can still, have a scrap and scramble. I also like the moments of breath to talk to each other, which is something that doesn't often happen in fight scenes. Something is that fight scenes are like music, and I think that your musical training really comes into handy with this because you understand the rhythm of a fight, and so that's what I think. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? I'm sorry, my brain
Yeah,
is.
but Wulf, you always have something to criticize. Like literally, I don't think you've ever said something nice about my writing without saying but. So come on, what's the but in here?
But there is no but.
Oh wow. This is somebody write this down.
Take down the date. It's got to be an anniversary.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate that. I am proud of this particular fight scene. I have two fight scenes in my books that I'm particularly proud of, and this is one of them. So thank you.
I see. Vespera was writing down this date. We'll go back on August 24th, 2026 and have a celebration. Vespera, do you want me to go or do you want to go?
It doesn't matter to me.
That's not helpful.
Do you want me to go? Because I can.
Only if you want to. Here, let's do this. Think of a number and then the one closest to the number that Neil is thinking will go first.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna turn off my camera and put the number up in front of the camera, and then you guys can pick. Okay, turn off camera. I've got a number in front of the camera. Between 1 and 10.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What's your number?
3.
Okay, mine's 8.
I go.
3. Right on the dot.
All right. So, mine's going to be a bit different because it wasn't written in book format. It was written for web novel format, and it's called Reborn as a Mimic. Neil, it's going to involve isekai, which is basically one of the tropes of it is somebody dying and being reborn in somebody else's body or something else's body. And then they still have their mind.
Okay.
So, it's exactly as it sounds. The title is called Reborn as a Mimic. And the character has just woken up inside of a mimic and he met a group of adventurers. And sometimes things go a bit differently, so I'm gonna pick it up like he met the group of adventurers, now he's following them, and they're about ready to head down a hall full of goblins. It's 2,000 words, so I don't think you want... Do you want me to read the whole piece? Or just the one towards the fight scene?
I mean,
It's
isn't
Wolf's
our,
show, but I would say just the fight scene.
yeah, I mean, like, what do you call it? Isn't our word limit like 1,500, 1,500? Like, just guesstimate how much that would be. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm. All right. So this is the part where the main guy of the group... Alright, let's see. Where am I at? Girl missing, Toya belled. I'm useless. The girl missing is friend. Can they even understand me, he thought. Jack's brows furrowed. He slowly stretched his hand out and rubbed the top of Toya's lid. Good boy. Toya, you must have been so alone. You don't have to worry anymore. We'll take good care of you. Tom, Sam, and Merv stood on their toes, leaning toward Jack. The hell we will. These people do not feel bad. Toya raised his top half and lowered it. I thank you. Stop with the bowing, Tom wagged a finger at Toya. I bet he's just trying to lower us to more of his friends. Merv rubbed his nose. I gotta slow down. Merv rubbed his nose. Mimics are not that smart, and they hardly work together or in pairs. Not to mention, they do not talk as much as this one, which is probably why he sounds like a crotchety small beast man trying to learn English. A much cuter version, but still, his cores are fried. This dumbass, he pointed to the mimic, is talking way more than he should. Tom moved a hand under his chin. So you're saying this mimic is an oddity, but that doesn't mean we should keep it. But what if he had an owner? Merv moved a hand. Ugh. Ah. Tom's arm fell to his side, his brow furrowed. That would mean he was probably raised for monster fighting. Sam walked over to them. He also placed a hand under his lips. He rubbed his chin, sliding his hand back and forth. Toya does not seem aggressive. He would be more than likely used bait. It seems when he is surprised, he has no control. He probably accidentally attacked one of the fighting monsters. Jack's eyes watered. Mem, you have lived a hard life. He squatted down to hug Toya. He pushed his face against Toya's hard side and rubbed. Not Mem, and no, I'm not a pet, but a man. Toya moved his thin, frail arms to push Jack off. He pressed against the big man's arm, flailing. Verbal breakdown, flailing. Ugh, move. Merv's head turned. His tired eyes glanced toward the simple gravestone entryway they came through. Tom followed his gaze. Yeah, it's about time we move. Jack, I guess now would be the time. Are you taking the mimic? Sam sniffled and raised a hand. I object. Jack released Toya. He folded his arms and stared the rest of the party down. Yeah, of course. Tom's shoulders sagged. Merv shrugged. Remember, up ahead is a goblin nest. Jack nodded. I know. There are only 4 of us. The best option would be to rush them by doing as much damage as possible. While they may be weak, they have numbers and some intelligence. Never get surrounded. He stood and stretched. Merv and Tom, usually 2 would be behind me, but I need some quick damage. I'll come behind swinging with a battle axe. Sam, you are behind me with multi-damage spell work. Anything that hits multiple targets. Toya? Me? Toya pointed to himself. Yes, you. I'm not sure how you will work in this unit. It is very important you do not act. I need you to control as much as possible. Please do not get freaked out. There are goblins up ahead. Act if you must to protect yourself, said Jack. Jack pulled a small axe off his wrist. The axe expanded to a larger side. It had a black handle with red decals before the blade. Merv and Tom both pulled out dual daggers. Toya's lid slid open, revealing his teeth. He gaped at the scene. Sam pointed at Toya, shaking. Jack laughed heartily. He's just impressed. Tom and Merv do look cool. Toya nodded. Ready? Tom asked, watching the room. The group nodded. Tom and Merv dashed out of the room, Jack behind them. Sam bringing up the rear. Toya darted after them. Little bits and bobs rattled inside of him. He glanced around. The moment he left the room, whoa! Torches lit up, revealing 3 hallways, one to the right, another to the left, and one down the middle. A few feet ahead of them, down the middle corridor, stood 6 small goblins with the bigger one in the center. Toya's eyes darted to and fro. He took in as many details as he could. Unlike the dark stone area of the room he resided in, the rest of it appeared different shades of gray. The large stones had dark spots in the shape of splatters. Toya shifted his box-like appearance left, and then to the right, not paying attention to the man in front of him. A hard smack resounded. Sam gasped, his eyes wide, and a rush of air, and then the feeling of something hard against the ground. And then the feel of a hard smack against the ground. He groaned. The back of his legs ached for a few seconds, and then the front stung longer. Toya stumbled over Sam's legs. The sound caught Merv and Tom off guard. They both flipped around. Toya laid on the ground with his mouth open, revealing both sets of teeth. His tongue hung out to the left. He breathed heavily. His vision faltered for a moment. Jack yelled at them, "Never turn!" His face fell. His eyes widened. He quickly swung his axe above Tom's head. The sound of something being hit with a loud wail. Jack quickly pulled back. Merv shouted as 2 daggers poked through his shoulders. He shook, gasping. Jack's eyes wavered. He lunged forward, dropping his axe. On Merv's back, hanging by 2 large daggers, was a dark green goblin laughing. Its sharp tongue poked out. Merv grunted, dropping to his knees. The goblin used the daggers to hoist itself up to his neck. Toya slowly sucked in his tongue and sat up. He raised a hand, rubbing the top of his arched lid. "What's happening?" "Ugh," he groaned. Sam glanced back with wavering, widened eyes. He switched his gaze up front. His chest moved in pace with his quick breath. "Toya," Sam grunted. "Huh?" Toya moved his hand off his lid. "Eat me! I don't want to die by a goblin!" Sam squeezed his eyes shut while turning away. "You'll be quicker, right?" Toya froze. "He wants me to eat him? What in the world? I'm a monster, I guess, but to eat another man. Please, I'm begging you. Don't act dumb, you monster. You planned this." Sam raged, turning his attention back to Toya. "Sam, we need spell work," Jack yelled as he swung his axe around. 2 goblins made it under his battle axe handle. "Hee hee hee," said one goblin. Jack quickly changed the grip on his battle axe, handling it horizontally. He bent his arms back, rushing the bar toward him and the goblin. Merv grunted as he shimmied his shoulders to the right and then to the left. He kept his eyes squeezed shut. The goblin on his neck stuck its long, narrow tongue out, licking it. Merv leaned his head away, exposing more of his neck. He shivered from the wet feeling. Before he could react, the goblin opened his mouth wide, sinking it into his tender flesh. "Ah!" Merv screamed. "Jack!" Tom screamed. He felt a sudden presence behind him. Tom's eyes widened as a small blade pierced his throat. Blood gushed from the wound. Toya's mouth fell open. His bottom box half heaved. "What's happening?" No, not real." He reached up to his lid sides, in between the black metal slots. "Grar!" Toya screamed as his tongue shot out, grabbing a goblin that was around to the front of Tom. "Aye!" The graved goblin's eyes widened. He dropped his blade, stretching out its small hands. Everyone's attention once again was diverted to Toya. The goblins behind Jack's axe pole raised their daggers, their mouths wide, showing 2 rows of sharp teeth. Jack slammed his pole against their backs. The goblins' eyes bulged as split drops flew from their mouths. They hit Jack's chest with a resounding thud. Once Toya's tongue fully retracted, his jaw slammed shut. He chewed and swallowed, his bottom half rising and dipping. Toya's front expanded as the goblin bits landed with a loud kerthunk. A voice echoed in his head. Goblin surprise, terror, an action that can be used at any time. Level 1. 0. Level 0. Wobbly goblin stance. The stance is weak, barely passable. Level 0.3. Dagger dual wielding. Cannot use weapons made by human hands at this level. The daggers must be made of stone or copper. What is this? Who is this voice in my head? And what does any of this mean? Do other mimics have this too? The voice is gone. Why is the voice gone? He thought before speaking again. Voice, come back! Toya jumped up. He glanced around the room once again. and there was no one but the decimated party and the goblins. Behind the bigger goblin, a mimic with a pink bow behind the lid was peeking out from a corner. Toya noticed. He reached out his hand. Yuri! The peeking chest gasped while darting away. Toya ran, his feet pitter-pattering against the stone. His arms was still stretched out. A goblin snatched his arm. It grinned while applying pressure. The sound of a slow splintering echoed. Toya opened his mouth. A low growl escaped him. It had to be Yuri. At least he hoped it was. His tongue sneaked out, wrapping around that goblin. Yoink, said Toya. He pulled the goblin close, and the goblin struggled, pulling at the tongue. With its sharp and lime-green nails. Aye, the goblin yelped as Toya's tongue tightened. His lid opened wide, tossing a second goblin in. This makes no sense, Toya shouted. Again, it's like going over the levels, so I'm skipping that. Merv groaned, his eyes rolled back as the goblin raised away from its neck. This is how I die. His body collapsed. Toya opened his mouth, his tongue aimed at the goblin who bit Merv. The goblin screamed as it was yanked away. Toya's lid closed after dragging that goblin to its gullet. Its fronts and sides expanded as he chewed, swishing the goblin around before swallowing. That's it. I'm done.
Me or you, Neil?
You go first.
Okay. So I'm going to admit that I don't have full feedback here, and I know that's like a giant thing. The thing is that you said that this is for Webtoon, and so the thing is that when you're writing for Webtoon, and correct me if I'm wrong, you may correct me if I'm wrong, this is mostly like graphic novels and comics, correct?
Web noveling. Noveling.
What was that? I couldn't hear the first half of that, Viscera.
Web noveling.
Yeah. Yes.
Webtoons, and then there's web noveling.
Okay, so this is a web novel?
It needs a bit more editing than I remember.
We're just trying to determine what it is. It's a web novel is what it's going to be.
Okay. So, like, I was just trying to think, because I thought that I heard webtoons earlier, and then I was just like, well, I can't give feedback on that because it kind of does sound like a storyboard right now. When you're doing comics, you storyboard first, and then you write in the images, so...
Well, I was planning to eventually, like, maybe get away from the webtoon noveling and just turning it into, like, a book. But I'd have to put in a lot more detail than what I did. Web noveling, there's a limit you're supposed to have. And that limit is usually like 1,500 words. Or like 1,000 words, 800 words. Just because it's supposed to be like a quick read.
Got you. What do you call it? What I do like is I like the interesting concept or an idea of writing a fight scene of something that's non-human. That's actually something that Neil and I didn't do, which was write a fight scene for something non-human. So I do appreciate that. I also do agree with your own assessment that it does require a little bit more detail. The fight scene itself is nice, but it requires a little bit more like detail and like a little bit more like structural understanding of what's going on. I think I worded that weirdly, but yeah. You can go, Neil.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of agree with Wulf in that the fight scene itself, I felt pretty good about. I thought like you did a good job of not making it monotonous, not being like overly pedantic, like Wulf was talking about before, where you're like, oh, like, you know, let me tell you exactly, you know, just a list of things that happened. You had reactions in there, you had emotion in there, you had confusion, you had explanations of what weapons were doing, but they weren't overly like drawn out. Like I thought the fight scene itself was fine. And and even me as like a person who, like, I played D&D like, you know, half a dozen to a dozen times when I was in high school, but that was, believe it or not, coming up on 30 years ago. Um, so like I don't know really any usable information in terms of D&D. That being said, I think that it's the lead up to the fight scene that needs the most work. And for me, it's not even that it needs more detail, it's that you need to pull back a little bit. Okay? I feel like there are places that you're telling me things that I probably already know, right? So if I know you started this mid kind of story. So like if you've introduced the story and we know that there's these four people heading into this situation, then when they get to the fight, you don't need to say there's only four of us. Like we know, they know. Like that's just like spoon feeding us something that we don't need. And it for me it pulls me out. Um, I think that you in the lead up you need to do a lot less, because presumably a person who's reading this knows most of this like levels stuff. I mean, unless this is very specific and it's not like a kind of universally understood thing in this kind of fantasy. If it's very specific to your world and it is not something that just a person that is like generally aware of this genre could just like pick up and know, then I don't think you need to explain it um
So,
because that I feel like starts to like feel like you're dragging your feet. Um, and so I think you should focus more on the dialogue and the anxiety and the emotions of the people going into it, and less on like feeding the reader like the details of the world. Unless, like I say, I'm wrong and this is a totally unique world that you just made up, and we need that information.
so I'm gonna like what do you call it? Stop you, Neil. So there is a form of fantasy called lit RPG. Basically, it's literature RPG where the level system is written into the actual like text itself. So I get where she's going with it because I've seen books like this before, where the level is actually kind of pertinent to the genre itself. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so if that's what she's doing, then the levels are kind of part of the genre. So I was just like, I need to inform you that there is something called literature RPGs.
Right. So no, I didn't know that, and so thank you. I learned something tonight. But I guess my question is this: like, are those levels a kind of are they kind of like a standardized thing that everybody taps into, or does each author create their own from scratch?
Depends on the author. So some will build it from their own scratch. There are literally people who will build game mechanics within their own literature RPGs. It's absolutely wild. Like,
Okay.
and then
Because that's kind of what I was getting at, was like, if this is like completely unique to yours and nobody coming in will understand what's going on unless you explain it to them, then yeah, then you need to do that. Otherwise, I wasn't really being critical about saying like, oh, this person's only level 1. But if level 1 means the same in her story as it does in everybody else's lit RPG story, then you don't need to say, I'm only level 1, I can't use tools created by human hands, right? Um, if that's universal kind of across the genre, then you don't need to say it because everybody that's reading it knows. Whereas if it is unique to your story, then obviously you do need to say it and I need to shut up.
You're fine. Like, I just wanted to try doing lit RPG. I'm not even sure if I did it right. But yeah, the leveling system for these books is usually usually whatever the author decides for their
Okay.
little thing.
That's totally cool. I'm on board with that.
I am on board with it too. If you need any like assistance, I'm more than willing to help you with Lit RPG. So
Yes.
okay. I'm just like over here being like, yes, here I have random facts and bits of knowledge. Okay, we're good. Okay. Do you have anything else to say, Vespera, Neil?
No. I thought that was one of the best pieces that you've had so far in terms of like just being really smooth. I also thought that you did a really good job reading out loud. I'm noticing a a a marked improvement in that as a skill for you, and I think that that's great.
I fully agree. Fully agree.
Oh my God. I cannot wait for it to get cold out because it is so hot in the studio.
Neil, get yourself one of those plug-in air conditioners.
You know what? They're like, so I looked into them, and one, like a real one from like, Home Depot or something like that is going to cost me like $500. Um,
Ugh.
so that might be something that I invest in next summer, but I'm not going to invest in that at the, in the end of August. I will be getting a heater
Oh yes,
for the
please do.
winter. But then I got back on TikTok, and there's all these people advertising these like $100 ones that obviously are not going to like cool my entire garage to be, a beautiful, 70 degrees. But if it was pointed at me and it was enough to keep me cool while I was working and it wasn't too loud, then that would be very interesting.
Unlike my central air, which you can probably hear in the background.
Yeah. All right. I guess it's Wolf's turn.
Yes, it's my turn. What do you call it? I admit that I wrote an anti-fight scene, and also I'm not 100% certain on the ending quite yet. What do you call it? This is fresh off the press. I actually had an idea. Originally, I was going to submit something else, but when I got home from grocery shopping, this was inside of my head, and I said, oh, I need to write this down. So this is the first segment of like a novella or a short story of my adaptation, The Invisible Man. It is titled "How I Was Forced to Sell My Face." The idea was, oh yeah,
That just the title. I'm like, damn.
yeah. What do you call it? So I don't know. I'm gonna actually catch you up to something that happened recently, and I know this sounds really weird, but trust me, it's relevant. I don't know how much you know about the Stardust and Sinners situation, Neil, but I will kind of
I've
go
heard
in.
about it. Yep.
Yeah, so the idea was that writing this adaptation, the idea was to set it in a contemporary time. And rather than make the character literally invisible, I made them invisible within the context of being anonymous online and somebody who does mass talk or somebody who tries to obscure their identity online, who then people feel entitled to know who they are, to know their information, to get at their information. And so that's
Yeah.
kind of the context. Alrighty, here we go. This is the train station, New York, 9:11 p.m. It's called All Eyes on Me. Sleeping on the train with the bed bug ridden fabric seats, it isn't a good idea. Why do they call them bed bugs? They should just call them hitchhiker bugs. I can feel them now on my skin. Or maybe that's my imagination. Much like large faces conjure beneath the surface of my eyelids. They're large, a fisheye lens, looking like Thanksgiving parade balloons. I can hear their laughter. It's like having the skittering of a bug trapped in your earwax. That happened to someone once before. People on the train look at me like I'm homeless. Unsolicited strangers attempt to be good Samaritans handing me money, or they pray for me. Sometimes it's hard to decipher whether the things happening are in my mind or true. I went to the police station mm, because I think someone's following me. I think, but when you have a history of hallucinations and psychosis, they think you're just off your medicine. But people can have hallucinations and psychosis for a number of other reasons. Environment, lack of sleep. I'm also in their eyes male, so in their eyes, me attempting to get help for a woman stalking me, they laughed at me, told me to go home, lay off the booze. Meanwhile, when the train stops and people get off, and they hand me money. Some just pray. This was my stop to an apartment in an old brick building, something from the industrial era. My apartment is on the top floor, but with New York now drowning, I either drown on the first floor or get really good at becoming a diver. Now I'm alone with those horror movies set in New York. They're beautiful about the way the camera flirts with dirt, wide shots of empty seats. They're always stained with the usual suspects: juice, food, bodily fluids, a stray needle under a chair, uh, awkward silence, besides the sound of the electric rail buzzing, static, blurring lights, bending like we're going warp speed, like one of those science fiction films, and I in a position of flickering my eyes from my phone to someone sitting in a chair, far away, staring, just staring. They get up. My heart does one of those things where it pounds and it mixes with the electric acoustics of the train. This wasn't supposed to happen. I don't even know why I went online. I didn't want to be Colton Asher online. I wanted to be the camera possessed by an entity. I wanted to be something haunted, observing and watching humanity. And now I've become the observed. I thought I recognized you. Then they tell me with a lie. They recognized me the moment we got on the train. I don't know why people did that. I don't know why they put my name out there. If the night were real, people would surely dox them. Superheroes, for that fact of the matter. Not to say I think of myself that way. I just obscured my face to take photos. Please, leave me alone, I mumble. Can I take a photo with you? They ask, except they're already sitting next to me. No, I'm losing my voice. I'm a big fan. They put their hand on my wrist. I push them away, keeping my head low, just looking at white canvas shoes. She screams. The train stops. Hey, is this guy bothering you? Someone with boots asks. I look up to catch the glimpse of someone in a trench coat, camo pants. I attempt to flee, but I'm grabbed by my bicep and dragged back. You think you can just attack a lady and get away with it? That isn't what I mumble. It looks like. He surprised me, the individual remarks. You're gonna stay here till I can get security. Boots commands. I don't know what that means I don't want to go to a facility. I'm not crazy. I don't need prayers. I push him. He doesn't budge. He pushes me back. I stumble into the pool. You need to calm down. You came into the situation. Electric buzzing, laughter. Now the empty seats are filled. Watching. I am observing. Flares from the lights of the cameras. This time I put some effort into it, sort of charging, then pushing the individual. Now he goes stumbling into the standing rail. Someone from behind grabs me by the arms. Get off of him! I kick my feet out like a stray feral cat attempting to flee air jail, squirming and growling. Get off of me! Get off of me! I don't know how, but I managed to slip out of my sweater hoodie, exposing my t-shirt as I weasel myself out of their grip, only to find more people surrounding me. A slow, less cool action pumped scene in an action film where people attempt to get at me, stop me from the doors as I squeeze through them. Someone manages to grab my shoulder, attempting to hold me within the pressure of the crowd. I'm exposed. It's going to be all over the internet, spoken about like some feral drug user rather than scared, not wanting to go to another facility. Let me out. The doors close. Now I'm trapped between an angry mob and a misunderstanding. They won't listen, clawing at the doors with brittle nails. Please. Then the door opens again. For a brief second, it feels like a miracle as I manage to come out, pushing my way through a person, skin brushing past a nylon coat. Don't move! Security. I run. I hear their heavy footsteps behind me, echoing off dirty tile, racing past faded flyers, peeling off the walls like a poor wallpaper job. Electricity, sharp barbed needles hitting tile, camera lights. The mob has found me, and so has security, as my body involuntarily convulses. All I wanted. And that's the end.
Well, Wolf, it's not the first time I've said this, and it won't be the last. You're a better writer than I am, and I admire you. I would love to read that over and over again. That was really, it was really good. The only criticism I can come up with is I don't feel like I understand what actually happened between the main character and the woman that wanted the picture. Like, I feel like you said that I'm assuming it's he, that's probably not appropriate, that the main character, whoever they are, that they pushed her away when she was trying to come in for a photo, or she said she was a big fan and trying to get close, and they pushed her away. And then it felt like there was a time gap, and immediately, like, there was someone there, in a trench coat, like, accusing him of attacking her. And I don't really understand what actually happened. Maybe that's the point. I'm not telling you have to go in and clarify it. Maybe it's the point that we're not supposed to know exactly what happened. But it made me a little, like, feel ever so slightly lost in in the moments that right after that as to why things were escalating so quickly. Because if she's coming in and they literally just, push her away, like, no, don't get near me. I don't see that escalating to where it goes, as opposed to if like maybe they like really shoved her, or maybe they were like, I got the impression that they were sitting down, but if they were standing up, maybe they shoved her and she fell and hit her head or something like that. I don't know. But that's the part that, as I was listening to it, the moment where I was like, wait, what just happened? I'm confused. Other than that, my God, your descriptions, your metaphors, like, they make me cry. They're so good. Like, I desperately want to write as well as you do. So, I just love listening to it. And I'm going to pass it off to Vespera.
You're fantastic, darling. But, no, like, I kind of get it. Like, I think he was set up, like, this is the person that was following him. I think that's what's going on.
I could see that.
Is that it?
I could see, yeah.
Like, she set this whole entire thing up. But then again, I don't know.
I'm not supposed to answer until the feedback is done, so...
Mean.
Do you have any more feedback?
No.
Well, then you can answer, Wulf.
Okay, so one, this is where I have to talk to Neil, or do you call it, sit him down. Okay, Neil?
Yeah.
Okay, so, this character specifically, Cole, speaking from the experience of somebody who's mixed race, and who's autistic, I've had security called on me for the most minute reasons. And so it didn't matter how hard he pushed her. If he looks weird and he's twitching and stuttering with his head down low and a woman screams just for being touched, people are going to react.
Okay.
Yeah, like,
Hey, I fully admit the things that I don't know. Like, I recognize that my experience is super limited by the way I was born, and I don't apologize for that, but I certainly recognize it. And so, yeah, like explain to me and let me learn.
yeah, no, I was being funny when I was trying to do that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and then so basically, like, that's kind of the thing. Vespero, you've kind of hit the nail on the head. It's not necessarily that he was set up; it's that he's the situation that I've basically set up here is the fact that he's been doxxed. They did that to Sleep Token. They've done it to a bunch of anonymous creators before, where they'll dox them and get their information just because the reason why he reacted the way he did was because he didn't want photos with them. He didn't want people to see him. He didn't want people to know who he was. I use he, him pronouns, but the character identifies as a eldritch monster. We'll talk about that later. So technically this is a short story novella, but it'll eventually reconnect back to Shadow Game because there will be a case that has to deal with this. But we won't know. Well, you guys now know this, but the audience doesn't know this, so they could read this as a standalone and get whatever the hell they want out of it. But if they ever read the book again and this character comes back, they're going to be like, oh my god, what the fuck have you done? I'll be like, yeah, welcome to me. Welcome to my brain. But, yeah.
All right.
I was technically supposed to have another piece that I've been working on for almost 2 weeks, but I never finished it. I never made it to the fight scenes.
Oh no. What do you call it? I've done a dumb, everybody. I have to write this short story novella in about half a month. Well, okay, so we have a little bit of 2 weeks left of August, and summer, we've got September. Because I would want to release this short story in October. The short story, so it shouldn't take me that long, and then I need to edit it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love it. I will definitely, if you release it, if you publish it, wide, or on Amazon or whatever, I'll definitely buy it. I am absolutely enthralled with it already. So, and I love the premise of it. The premise is just, it's too good.
Oh, thank you. Because one of my criticisms, and don't get me wrong, I understand that classic fiction was written during the time period that it was written, and they reflect the time period and the fears of that time period. The biggest criticism, though, that I have about The Invisible Man is, especially if you take The Invisible Man as an allegory for a disabled individual, is that the individual who wrote it, H.G. Wells, he wrote it as if you were invisible, then you can get away with anything. And as an individual who is part of invisible communities, I'm like, oh, none of us are committing crimes, H.G. Wells, like most of the time. So I flipped it, and instead it's, if you're invisible, what crimes can people enact on you without anybody noticing?
Yeah, it is an absolutely brilliant premise.
Yeah. I've been trying to so this character Colden, he's not the first time and he's come up, but I've been trying to work him in for a while now, but every time that I struggle to do so, and I really think that it was this particular his own spin-off that really needed to be written first before I could actually connect him.
It's a good character. I love that he identifies as an eldritch. What did you call eldritch god monster?
Yeah, basically an eldritch horror monster.
Yeah.
Literally, that's how he identifies. And like, so a little bit of context about Colden is that he's a photographer. He does little photography commissions. He likes taking pictures of like abandoned buildings and street things, and then adds in Photoshop and paint like shadows and monsters and stuff like that. And then like his whole entire gimmick or shtick online is that he is like an entity that possesses the camera. And then some people had to ruin the fun by wanting to know who he was and all of this jazz.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite characters. He's actually was originally written in the first manuscript of Shadow Game, and he still to this day is the one that a lot of my beta readers quote because he's so lovably awkward.
Mm-hmm.
There's a moment where he's trying to help with like connections and then have to deal with drugs in the originals manuscript, and he tells one of the characters, I have something to give you, and then he pauses because he realizes there's not enough context, and he writes, it's not a bomb. And you're like, Cold, that was never
something to give you. It's not a bomb.
Yeah, exactly.
It's sort of like have you watched Good Place?
I have a little bit, yeah.
When he's like, do you have the Eleanor Shellstrap file? And she's like, yes. And he goes, is it a cactus? No. Are you sure? Yes. You're not going to hand me a cactus. That's right. You have the actual file. Yes. It's paper and ink. That's right. Okay, give it to me. Boing, and it's a cactus.
Yes, exactly like that. And that's like Colden in a nutshell. He's so direct and so literal and so socially awkward that he says the wrong things at the wrong time, and half of the cast is constantly looking at him, and he's just like, I tried.
Yeah.
No.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just really excited about this project because Cole is literally one of my favorite characters.
Be
What
excited.
did you have for discussion?
See, discussion. Funny enough, was
Oh,
I was
discussion time.
yeah, discussion time. Let's throw some confetti. Actually, discussion time. I asked this the last time, and I will ask it again. Or like thing was I wanted to talk about our projects rather than like a big thing, and then I was hoping to do some promotion stuff because I've got shit. Actually, I'm actually doing my
Well,
job. What?
let's jump straight into your promotion. Like I want to hear that. You promote.
Okay.
Yes, do it. You deserve it.
I deserve it. So, Shadow Game Book One was accepted in an event called Clear Your Ear Reader. It is hosted by Divinity Hollow. Divinity Hollow. I have to make sure people understand that it's the Divinit Hollow. I will get you guys the links on that. Basically, they do your like free e-reader events, but not stuff your Kindle days. They're like literally like specified themed promotion events. Shadow Game will be free on September 20th for the entire day. So if people don't have the money to get it, they can go ahead and grab that book. In October, I'm looking to hopefully publish a short story that you heard a snippet of it right now of how I was forced to sell my face. And then some to be announced news will be that I'm working on a gothic western vampire book called Sage and Salt. Um, and that will be to be announced because I have no idea when I'm going to release that. Shadow Game Book 2 is almost done, but also to be announced because I don't know when I'm going to publish that either. And then I have Terminal Decay also in the background and also to be announced because I don't know when I'm going to publish that either. I just got projects. Most of them are semi-complete or have went through their first manuscript because I always write my first manuscript almost like the outline, and then I write a second manuscript. And usually the second manuscript is what I polish and then discuss with my Alpha Zero team, and then we I edit it, and then I have a friend look over my edits, and then I publish. So there you go. I've got stuff to do. I'm actually doing my job, Neil. Be proud.
I am very proud of you. You're doing your job better than I am.
Vespera's only nominally proud.
Yeah, I'm very proud of you. I'm happy. Like, your stuff is amazing.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to hide now. Yeah.
No
So,
hiding.
oh no, now I gotta hide.
No.
But
Go.
yeah. So that was all my promotion stuff. I went through it pretty quickly, but yeah, I thought that we could talk about our projects because I think that sometimes it's very easy for writers to get into their heads and think about things in negative or critical ways, and instead, sometimes you just need to sit back and hype yourself up like a little cheerleader, and like be excited about the things you're doing.
I'm excited about what I'm doing. I am writing a a legal thriller slash romance novel, and it is super weird and fun, and I'm psyched to put it in the world, but it's going to be a bit. I have a long way to go still on it, just on the first draft, and but I know everything that, like, I know the whole thing, so it's not like I have to figure any part of it out. I just have to actually write it, and that's gonna be super exciting, and um it is the first book that I actually like I actually gave serious thought to maybe I'd query it, but I don't think I'm going to. I really don't. Um, I think that I've just chosen a path that I'm on, and I'm okay with it. And I'm gonna push through with that. Um, but yeah, it's exciting, and I'm happy about it. And the only other things I can talk about are, you know, Dark White Dark White is my first novel. It is a, noir. Uh, it's not a detective novel. The character is not a detective, but it's in the spirit of a noir detective novel. Um, and it is very it's got a lot of corruption, a lot of betrayal, a lot of like things happening in the underworld. And then I've got Cold Turkey, Malcolm Karma Cold Turkey. And the books I write are all kind of interconnected standalone, so they happen in the same universe. Cold Turkey happens years after Dark White, kind of after the events of Dark White have kind of faded into urban legend, and people just assume that that is gone now. But what they don't realize is that it's actually spread, and that the corruption has become more systemic and more built into the system, and that it's borderline sanctioned at this point. And yeah, it's about someone in that system, like, realizing what the system is and trying to tear it down.
Neil, all I'm saying is that if you want to release a new edition of Karma Cold Turkey, what do you call it, to change that cover of yours, I'm your guy.
I
I'm sorry to be petty.
I will certainly take that under consideration. I will tell you this. My, for lack of a better term, my stepdaughter is becoming an incredible artist. And the stuff that I'm seeing her produce, it blows me away. She's 11 years old, and I'm like, that is professional level art. And so I told her that she has first crack at my book covers moving forward. Doesn't mean that she gets it, but she has first crack at it. And I think that, that's a little bit of nepotism, but I think that it's also supporting my family. And but I appreciate the offer.
No, I appreciate you always just being petty. As an artist, your cover of Karma Cold Turkey frustrates me on a level that you don't know. I've kept my mouth shut, but I could point out so much shit, and I'm just sitting here being like, "You paid money for this?"
I did, and I have my regrets, but but maybe someday there'll be a second edition, and we'll revisit it then.
I'm teasing you. Also, at the same time,
His cover has nothing on my cover torn. Like, my cover torn is. There's so much.
I still like your cover from Torn. What do you call it? I just okay. So I'm gonna be slightly petty, everybody. I'm so sorry. I noticed that her chest area was not attached to her rib cage. That was the first anatomy issue that I noticed. Also, she's missing a leg. Your Karma Cold Turkey. Yeah, actually. So, if you think about like things in the realms of artists, she's actually missing a leg. I will give you the highlights deal in the DMs, and then once you see it, you will never be able to unsee it.
I'll never be able. The leg. I'm already seeing what you're saying. I mean, I think I think that it's just one leg is behind the other leg, but that being
As
said,
as an
you're right.
artist,
Now I'll never see it. It looks like she looks like she has one. She's like got one leg that she's balancing on. But that being said, okay. So I have I don't know if you guys have did I lose you guys again?
no, I'm listening. I'm listening.
No.
I'm paying
Okay.
attention.
So I don't know if you guys have separate screens, but I have in my living room a lithograph print of the Sunday Post, I think it is, with Rosie the Riveter on it. And I'm gonna pull this up here. Sunday Post, Rosie the Riveter. And I spelled that wrong, I'm sure. Here it is. Okay. So let's see if we're literally okay, here it is. If you can pull this up on your own, all the better. It's by Norman Rockwell. But if you look at this, the stripes on the flag don't make any sense. Okay? Specifically, this stripe here starts here, and then is it go over here or does it come down here? I can't tell, but there's an extra red stripe somewhere that just showed up out of nowhere. And
I see it.
And I look at this every single day in my living room, and it makes me crazy. I mean, I don't know how to tell you like how many times I've been sitting there with Blair just having a conversation on the sofa, and I am just like crawling out of my skin. I'm so upset about it because it doesn't make any like where is that stripe supposed to be? And so yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. When you see something in a piece of art and then you can't unsee it and it just lives there and you're just like angered by it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's artist shorthand, but like this is so one of the biggest criticisms that I get as an artist is that I complete my backgrounds before I put the character on it. I actually complete my backgrounds. What a lot of artists do is they'll just draw where the character is going to end up, and then they finish the pattern and like just leave a giant blank space. But I can visualize both the shorthand and the blank space at the same time, existing at the same time, and it bothers me. So I complete my backgrounds before I put the characters over them, just simply because. And I know that some artists like criticize me for doing it, but I'm like, I would rather there be an actual complete background behind the character rather than a blank space.
I didn't know the artist did that. Left a blank spot where the character is. That seems dumb to me. Like if you're gonna paint in layers like that, just paint the whole background and then put the person on top.
I agree. But some artists don't. Like they'll just like leave the blank spot where the character is and like, oh, the audience's eye will fill that in. And you're like, yes, but now there's a blank spot behind this character. And now I can see it.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here. I'm going to be attempting for Sage and Salt to be doing so I have all these fine tip pens, and I'm going to be attempting to imitate like the old Western like illustrated look. And so I want all these like harsh lines and impressionist detail will follow these harsh inked lines. It's gonna look pretty sick, but I'm also like, why do I do this to myself? I'm that artist. I'm like, I am gonna do something complicated. Why? I don't know. Have we lost you, Vespera?
No, I'm still here. I'm just chilling.
Are you gonna talk about your stuff?
I have a couple of projects that's probably been going on for a long time. I actually have a couple of web novels. I have the Larkin Mysteries. I'm getting ready to start the second segment, which is going to be called A Black Web. And it takes place in the 1800s. And it's basically them going back to their hometown, dealing with somebody who they thought was a good person, and along the way they learned that he was not such a good person and used his authority. And now they have to like try and rescue his daughter with like trying to figure out how the Black Widow did it. And then it's not like you already know who did it. Now it's just how do we catch it? And then
cool.
I'm getting ready to probably repost Reborn as a Mimic. And then I am supposed to be working on Torn.
Yeah, get on that. I've been waiting.
I know you have. I canceled my pre-order. I'm gonna be writing on it. It's a quarter of the way done. I wanted to try and put in as much detail as I could. And there's certain areas where I definitely screwed up in. But I want to finish it. Like, this book was supposed to be my one-off sort of like horrorist romance thing. It was supposed to get me out of the stage of writing novellas. Because I write novellas.
Novella.
I write a novella.
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 Novel. Novel. Novella.
Novel.
Novella.
I'm sorry.
There's no I in there.
I know you should hear some of the stuff that I pronounce. It don't always come out right. But yeah. I'm gonna be starting my 4th segment for my fantasy and re-releasing it as it's actually off to an editor to be like released as a fantasy sci-fi that's gonna be taking place on Mars. So it's gonna be different, a little slightly different from the web novel. So that I haven't really heard back from the editor. So I'm probably gonna send him a message and see if he's had any time to look at it, and then I have to implement some of the changes. But yeah, I learned something by doing a series. Make sure you take notes, or else you're going to be going through 4 books. Like, just about 4 books of, like, stuff. Trying to find out little itty-bitty details that you think don't matter until you need them.
I'm going to give you another piece of advice writing series, Spira. Make sure that you write detailed enough notes. See, I take notes when I'm writing my series, but I always do shorthand.
Yes, and then you don't know what they mean.
Yes, exactly. No idea.
I have to go through like 3 previous books and like, what does this character look like? Like, what does this ability do? And it's like, I don't want to do it. So I've been kind of lazy with trying to get those chapters out, and I need to get them out. I also have like another thing that's gonna be, it's a web novel, sort of like a bunch of isekai stories like thrown into one. Like, I need to get that written. I've been very lazy, and I was supposed to have a poetry book out by the end of June. That didn't happen.
You're not lazy, you're marinating ideas. That's how we're gonna phrase these days, guys.
Marinating my ideas.
Yeah, you're marinating.
Yeah. I've been just, I start all this stuff and then I get burned out, and then I like, I don't know. I really want to get Torn finished this year. So I'm probably going to get cracking on that.
Good. I'll start poking you more.
You need to.
Okay, I can do that. I'll be very obnoxious about it. I'm already like in my mind, what do you call it? Thinking about the cover of How I Was Forced to Sell My Face. I want to do something that's gonna feel a little schlocky at first, but then you're like, oh, okay.
A cover that makes you think.
Oh, well, no, it's gonna be a little cliche. I think I want to do like the cool camera lens kind of thing in the center of it. But I want to do, what's the term when people make a pattern or they turn patterns into faces? I want to make a cover like that.
Ooh, I already thought you were gonna do something like that.
I can't remember the name of the term, but yeah, I want to make basically a fake face.
Like a mosaic?
Oh, no. It's a. Hold on. Let me. Now it's going to bother me, so we're going to. What is the term? There is a term for it.
You're talking about cliches. Lets me know what I'm gonna do for my next project, for the next book talk that I host. BookTube. BookTube. BookTube.
I think I'm gonna go live after this tonight and just see what happens. I haven't really done a live since I came back.
Paradolia. Sorry, what do you call it? The term is called pareidolia.
Okay.
You're gonna go. I'll set up a new account and poke around. I'll visit you on your live.
I love you, Neil. I'm avoiding people, so.
I know I get it. I totally get it. I don't expect anybody to be there. I just I'm just interested. Just interested. Especially after the day I've had.
Well, I hope everything's okay.
Everything's fine. Look, I came back kind of as an experiment, and if it gets nasty and bad, then I can just leave again. It's not gonna kill me one way or the other.
Yeah.
Oh,
I haven't left TikTok, but I also I'm gonna declare this on YouTube, everybody, and it's gonna be recorded. TikTok kills creativity. There, I said it.
I think that you're not wrong.
Oh God.
I think it's more so like the whole environment.
So Wulf, like I want to know, like you tell me my take, I'm sure you saw it, but like my take was that was that reading diversely is not a requirement as a reader. It is a good thing to do. We should encourage it. If you if you want to use reading to expand your horizons and find, you know, new points of view and new ways of thinking and understand other people's cultures and understand other people's life experiences, then reading diversely is like really important. But if reading for you is the equivalent of coming home and playing Mario Kart after work, then making an extra effort in selecting your books by researching the authors to make sure you're representing various different groups in your reading is not actually that important. And and more importantly, that going on a platform like TikTok and demeaning people and putting them down and making them feel small and stupid and telling them that they're wrong and that they don't deserve to be in the space because they talked about a book or 3 books or 5 books and they did not have a diverse authorship in those books is not uh is not an effective way of motivating those people to change and see diversity as a goal to strive towards. How far off base do you think I am as one of the few people who I genuinely like, value their opinion?
Okay, so funny enough, I was having this discussion with somebody yesterday about this. Sure, I agree. Let me give a little bit more on that. I agree that it shouldn't be a requirement for people to what do you call it, be reading diversely. However, there's a caveat into this, so hear me out. Because I heard this take, not specifically your take, but from another person. And the couple of questions that I have, and it's the same questions that me and this individual were having when we were processing this conversation, is one, who is attacking you? Because that's how some people are framing it. Who's attacking you for not reading diversely? Because if you're saying that the individuals who are POC individuals or individuals of vulnerable communities are attacking you, well, that's factually incorrect because those individuals are the individuals who are directly harmed by problematic books. However, if
Well, wait, define problematic books.
okay,
Are you
I
saying
can
just books written by white authors are problematic because they're written by white authors?
That's not what he's saying.
No, I'm asking him if that's what he's saying.
no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
Okay.
so the way that I define problematic books are books that directly normalize behaviors that what do you call it, do direct harm to communities. And
hmm
and, and that's how I define problematic works. It doesn't matter who's writing them. It matters that the context itself does direct harm, aka like J.K. Rowling
Okay.
does direct harm to the
Yeah.
trans community. Period.
Yes.
End of story.
Yes.
Like we can't.
Yeah.
There's no
No.
argument on that. So that's what I mean is that when a POC, when the POC community is saying, hey, just so you know that this book has some direct things in it that can cause us direct harm, that is not an attack, but it is often seen as an attack. And so like I said, this entire conversation requires a lot of nuance in it because I do
Yes.
believe that there are individuals out there who target individuals with arguments of self-righteousness and moral and what do you call it, and strike people down with virtue signaling. On the other hand, oftentimes 9 times out of 10, if it's a POC individual saying, I'm not going to communicate with you, if you're, or even an individual from any vulnerable community say, hey, I'm not going to be friends with you if you're going to support J.K. Rowling. Well, I'm a trans individual and I can be directly harmed, targeted, and attacked by these ideologies. That is more of a safety and it's not about attacking. And so I always advocate for people to be specific about who they're speaking to. And like
Mhm.
that's where my disagreement with this entire argument is my problem with the current argument that I have is that people are using it then to validate, because everybody is looking for catharsis and validation to their own inherent biases. The problem
Mhm.
with that is that I feel like that rhetoric is harmful to the communities that are being directly impacted because people will then use that same argument. I've seen, and I actually have examples and I have screenshots of people who use that same argument about being attacked, mob authority, or witch hunt to individual communities that are actually being harmed. And that's where I draw my line at because we have to be specific about who these people who are virtue signaling is versus communities who are being harmed by this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The problem. So the problem I think that exists and that is causing the most, like, I don't know, divisiveness or whatever, is this notion that for every white male author that gets published that is a female author or a person of color that is not getting published. And that is absolutely true. It's absolutely true. 100%. And we need to like look at that. And that is a problem of capitalism. And that is where like Dietrich's argument of like every time you buy a book by a white male author, you are reaffirming the industry's standard that that is what sells and that's what they're going to publish. Get it. 100%. 100%. And that is true, and I agree, and I'm with it. My question is, you've got a person for whom reading books is literally like playing Mario Kart. They if you asked them to name the past 5 books they read, they couldn't even tell you what the titles were, let alone who wrote them. They just go to the library or they go to the bookstore, they like scan a cover for something that looks interesting, they pick it up, they read the back or the inside flap, they buy it, they read it, they, give it to Goodwill, and it's just, something that it's just literally the thing that they do for 15 minutes every night when they get home from work to like unwind. Is it that person's responsibility when they go to grab that book to then Google the author and make sure that they're supporting like a equitable number of authors from different backgrounds and cultures?
So what I want to say is yes and no, because everything lives in like, thing. So, okay. All right. Let me go with the no portion of it first. If it is something that, okay, hold on. No. I gotta screw my brain back to thing.
It's fine. It's fine. Take your time.
Because I'm looking at this directly from communities who are often impacted and harmed by these behaviors. Let's go to the Stardust and Sinners conversation recently. An individual, and his skin color does matter because he was not white, and he was stalked and groped by a white woman. What do you call it? Because color does matter. What do you call it? Is that we have to recognize that while books, just like video games, are not to be blamed for behavior, because books and video games do not cause behavior, but what they do is they normalize ideology and they normalize behavior. Okay, we have to acknowledge that. Is that if the individual does not have the capacity or the mental bandwidth, because we have to think about books outside of just books themselves. And we have to think about how books exist within society as they communicate ideas and they communicate information. We have to think about the decision not being about books, but the decision between your individual self-satisfaction and your impact on community.
Right. This is the thing that everybody keeps coming back to me with, is this idea of individual self-satisfaction and what you want to read and what you like, what makes you comfortable, blah, 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 blah. And what I'm saying is more than 50% of people in America don't even read one book a year. Okay. And so say you've got a person, and I gave this example earlier. Say you've got a person that is a lawyer and they're a public defender, okay? And they spend all day working with underprivileged people of every different race and gender and sexual orientation and trying to help them and doing their absolute best and fighting for their rights. And they're a member of the NAACP and the ACLU, and they volunteer on the weekends with groups, and they're just like, no one can look at them and say that they aren't like, they don't have a diverse point of view on the world. Okay. But when they get home from the end of a day, the end of their long day of work and helping people, their relaxation is to sit down and to read a mystery novel. Okay. And so this person, they go to the library and they walk to the new release section and they look at the covers, and whatever cover like jumps at them, they read the blurb, they like it, they check it out, they take it home, or maybe it's the bookstore because you have to pay for it there. Let's do it at the bookstore because it's actual money exchange. So they go to the bookstore, they go to the table in Barnes and Noble, they look at the new releases, they grab a book, they read the blurb, they go and they buy it. They didn't even look at the author's name. They just want a book to go home and read for 15 minutes a day at the end of their day. Okay. And they go home, and say it's a non-problematic white author that hasn't done anything bad or said anything bad, but it is a white author, and say that by virtue of statistics, say 80% of the time, 90% of the time, the book that they pick up, buy, and take home is a white author, just by virtue of statistics, because they're not even looking at the author name, right? Is that person failing at supporting cultural diversity despite all of their things that they do at their job and in their free time and all of that, because when they buy the book, they don't Google the author?
No, Neil, you just keep rephrasing the same thing to get an answer that you would like.
Well, I know. I want to know. Is that like, tell me, if you tell me that I'm wrong, then tell me I'm wrong.
I think
Well, I
you
think
don't
that
want to be told you're wrong.
Okay. Okay.
I also think that the person that you were mentioning is a mythical person, because they'll tell you right now,
Well-
as somebody who does work in the community, as I do, and somebody who does social work and somebody who does community building and mutual aid, I'm already looking up authors and books myself, because that stands where my values stand. So an individual who's already in that work and doing the community work will always have no problems and no qualms looking up the authors and books. I often find that it is the people who do the least amount of community work who are often the people who often have this argument.
Okay.
And I'm just being very direct right now. Because
No, that's what I count on you for, Wulf, is being very direct. To me it seems like, that if a person chooses like to treat books like Mario Kart, that they don't really care, that it's just background noise for them, that then, we don't have to sit there and judge them for failing in the diversity issue when it comes to books. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe like,
I
yeah,
think
I mean,
we're just pointing the finger at the wrong type of people. Like, the ones you should be pointing the finger at, if you have to point fingers, as the ones who know what they're doing and the ones who care about all that stuff but still choose to do the action, who still choose to have a lack of
but
diversity.
I think that's as mythical a character as the one that I put out there.
I
don't think
I disagree. Oh, I wholeheartedly disagree, because I have the screenshots and I have receipts. Oftentimes, the people who argue with me are the people who will write down on my comment section, be like, oh, I do this, and I'm LGBT, and I'm an ally, and I advocate for Palestine. So what if I read Sarah J. Maas? I have met those people. Those people are not mythical, because those are the people that I argue to a day, because the folk tent versus impact. Back to the entire conversation, multiple people at a time. If you're into, they talk about actions being good, but then talk about the impact on others. And the question becomes,
Okay.
if you accidentally broke somebody's nose with a door, are you then saying that you would not help pay for their ER bill? Are you saying that you wouldn't help get them an ambulance? Are you saying, because those two things are the
No.
same thing? Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But that's the thing, is that this argument is based off of intent versus impact. People want to be what do you call it? They expect congratulations for having good intentions, but they don't what do you call it, want to take accountability for the impact that they have on others. The reality of the situation right now is that Black individuals, there was something like 30 young girls who went missing in Washington, D.C. recently. There have been individuals in Colorado and Aurora who have been lynched. There have been individuals who are trans that I know who have been killed. And yes, books do not, what do you call it, cause these behaviors. However, it also does not, if you are not reading books or you're not like engaging in ideas that allow you to be able to protect these communities, then that is the equivalent of breaking somebody's nose accidentally with a door and saying, I'm not going to pay for your ER bill. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. Now I'm getting a little passionate, but I'm only getting
no, get passionate. Come on, do it. Come on.
I'm getting very passionate. To me, it is, and I know it because it's the intent versus impact. People want to believe that they're compassionate good people because they have intentions of compassion, but the reality of the situation is that your impact is people are dying. That is the impact, is their death. And like that's the part that's not being put into this conversation. It is not a myth that these people are dying. It is not a myth that this stuff is happening. It is quite literally happening to people. And it goes back to when I did a little experiment where I literally had to borrow a library book of ACOTAR, and I highlighted some very problematic paragraphs. One of them called individuals who are asexual soulless, individuals who lack passion. And you're like, ugh, yikes. Your Mario Kart is basically saying that asexual people are soulless. Your Mario Kart is also calling people who are,
that's a fucking good argument. That was articulated, like the way you said that was amazing. Yeah. That is the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the difference. That's the difference right there. I mean, like your Mario Kart, we go back to ACOTAR, is basically calling individuals who are indigenous to their lands barbarian and savage. I thought we all agreed that calling indigenous people barbarians is inappropriate. So why the fuck are you like accepting it in this book? Because you want to read and sit down and you know, like that's the problem.
No, that's
the situation. Is
that's
that,
a
either
fucking good argument. I mean, as far as I'm really concerned, you just convinced me. You like changed my mind. You changed my mind. And like in that moment. That's super interesting. That is, I'm going to have to process that, like in terms of how that like changes my whole I mean, it definitely changes my perspective. I will say this, okay? I will say this. It definitely changes my perspective on my point of view about the importance of diversely reading and the ability to kind of write off this idea of, you know, reading for escape. Okay. You got me on that. The part I'm still struggling with is that the creators on the other platform that are like, if I see someone post a video where they talk about 5 books they like and all of the books are by white men, then I am allowed to berate them and shame them because they're problematic and they shouldn't be on the platform.
No, I definitely agree with that. Like aspect of it is that like I don't think of it in that in that capacity, and like those people are nonsense people. Like I look at the content that you're reading and the authors that you're promoting. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter to me whether or not they're all white men. What it matters to me is, are all of these books, what do you call it, perpetuating some sort of like transphobia, Islamophobia, thing? Then I will probably take pause and I'll be like, no,
Yeah.
thank you. Like you do deserve some like a little bit of like maybe not shame, but a little bit like a side eye, being like, excuse me, those books support genocide. I just want you to know that, okay? Because I still do think that public check-ins are important. I still think that it's important. Like I don't believe in the idea of shame, no, but I also do believe in like the idea of being like, hey, just let you know here, but that author did this and that author did that and this author did that, and then it is up to that individual to take in that information and either do what they will with it. If they want to continue, well, I'm not gonna support you, just like I don't support those authors. It's a safety thing, at least for me personally, but I do.
We lost him.
I know.
Hello.
You're
You
back.
Well, we
Okay.
can hear you. Welcome back, Neil.
My question is, does it have to be a public check-in, or could you like DM them on the side and go, hey, I don't know if you know this, but this is like the problematic part of what you're promoting, and maybe you didn't know that, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. And then, if they're like, yeah, I don't care, well, then that's something else. But if they're like, oh my God, I didn't realize, like isn't like touching base with them like non-publicly a better way to do that than to just step right up and go in front of everyone, what are you, stupid? Like don't you know what this person does?
So go ahead, Vispira.
Like, it's more so like probably a safety thing, and to actually make sure that they're actually like paying attention to what's going on, because you can ignore a DM or they can send a nasty message back, but if it's public, they have to be like less nasty.
Okay.
Also, sometimes you also have to think about, if they're promoting this book to their audience, the public check-in isn't meant to be shame. See, that's the caveat right there, is that people, what do you call it? I've gotten this a lot recently on TikTok, is that people assume my intentions way too much. Like, you need to ask me for clarification if you don't know what my tone is. Can I ask for clarification of what your tone is? Are you trying to think I'm feeling, what do you call it, triggered right now? I'm feeling a little defensive right now. A lot of people assume other people's intentions. When I write like a public check-in, it's also for their audience. It's also for the other people who might also not know. And I often try my best to keep shame language out of my rhetoric. I just like, reminder, or for you to know, or I'd like you to know this. Let me add this. But those are usually how I do public check-ins. But that has everything to do with the way that people communicate, and that's a whole entire other conversation about how people, we are not, the reality of the situation is that people are not doing a lot of unpacking. They're not unpacking the way
Yeah.
that they use language. They're not unpacking the way that they experience trauma. They're not doing any like healing work. They're not doing any like self-internalized work. And so, what do you call it? Our language is riddled with shame-based language, and people just need to learn how to communicate better. But they also have to do all of their own personal unpacking as well. And that's something
So
that I
a
always.
lot of our media is sort of tied to like our personal morals. So like the things that we consume, like the television shows and the books and the music are all things that have been attacked at one point or another to shame people into thinking, oh, this is a bad person because they do this. So then we're all trapped in a mindset that somebody is shaming us for our own morals. So therefore, we must attack them back.
Also, something that I would like to add into this whole entire conversation about reading diversely is recognizing that individuals of vulnerable communities, I'm going to talk from my personal experience, but then I'm also going to talk in a broader aspect, is that most individuals who are of vulnerable communities, most of us are below the poverty line or impoverished. So buying books from diverse authors oftentimes is more beneficial to those diverse individuals. It's not just about reading diversely, it's about realizing that we are financially supporting individuals who do not have financial privileges, who are often impoverished. I've discussed this before, that I know that I'm going to, by September 20th, get some really nasty reviews because I only have $150 is helping me out now with Atticus. Thank you very much. But at the time, I wrote that book on a limited budget of $150. It's going to be $100 worth of quality. It can only be $100 worth of quality. I don't have the kind of money to sit there and like give $1,000 to an editor. I don't have the money to even save up for that kind of thing. And so reading diversely is not just about doing a good thing. It's about recognizing like how you are systemically helping individuals. Not only are you helping, spread different ideas that are not centered within white supremacy and fascist ideology, not every book, but a good majority of them. But you're also helping uplift impoverished and lower income individuals, because 9 times out of 10, in comparison to your, white, for the most part, authors, most individuals from vulnerable communities are going to be low income, very low income.
Yeah, that's all really, really good, compelling information. And yeah, and I'm going to think about that. Well, we're coming up on 2 hours, guys. So I'm gonna get us to wrap it up. But I thought we had not only good conversation tonight, but some really good reading, and I think some of our best pieces that I've seen on here yet. So thank you guys so much, and I think we're meeting again in 2 weeks, and I think maybe it's my turn. It's my turn to host.
Yes,
So
it
I got to
is.
get my shit together and get a prompt up.
I already
Awesome.
know what mine's gonna be.
Thank you for listening, Neil. I know, some people
Wulf,
shut
I
me
will
out.
always listen to you. I will always listen to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, you literally did change my mind on some stuff tonight. And I think that you make a really well articulated argument, and yeah, I have a lot of confidence that you're going to end up somewhere really good, Wulf, because between your intelligence, your ability to make an argument, and also your just astounding writing skills, there you're going to get found eventually. So,
Yeah.
all right, good night, guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Good night.
Right.
Night.